Welcome, friends and fellow birders, to 10 Birding Questions, the Birding with Bilbo podcast. I'm your host, Nate Bowler, author of the Birding with Bilbo Substack. If you're out there listening, thank you. We are here to meet and get to know birders. Birders of all stripes and from all corners. And one of those birders is Anuj Ghimire. Anuj is a research specialist in wildlife ecology at North Dakota State University, as well as a passionate birder both here in the ABA and in his native Nepal. And I'm thrilled to have him on 10 Birding Questions. Welcome, Anuj, and thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm excited to talk about some birds.
I'm excited to talk to you about birds too. So let's just jump right into the first question. Question I ask all my guests. What is your birding origin story? How did you get started?
All right. Yeah, it is a very long story, but I'll try to kind of minimize it. So I was always interested in animals ever since I was a kid. And when I was growing up, there used to be this barn owl, beautiful, really white, pale barn owl that lived in our house, I should say. It was kind of like a barn owl. But then, yeah, it used to love hanging out in our balcony. And I saw that bird and I used to see these egrets or crows doing their daily migration. And I used to be like, oh, this is fascinating. But it never occurred to me that I would go into that. Sorry, yeah.
And this is in Nepal?
Yes, back in Nepal, yep.
Nepal, okay.
Yeah, and every evening they used to do this huge daily migration thing, lots of crows, lots of egrets, and I was like, oh, that looks beautiful. But it never occurred to me that I would be pursuing a career in that. But then back in 2007, February 2nd, the World Wetland Day, there was this small group of it's an NGO that does environmental stuff. They had this birding festival kind of thing in one of the biggest wetlands in Kathmandu, and I went with them and they were birding, and that was the day I kind of found out you could look for birds and have fun with it. And I was like, okay, this is fun. I like it. And back then I did not know house sparrow from a Eurasian tree sparrow. Mm-hmm. But then as we got to IDing the birds and people were like, oh, this is that. I was like, oh, there's more species of birds than I knew. And that's when I started getting into it. But then that was also a time when I was a student and I did not have a binoculars or even a camera. But then I kind of slowly just hopped into it from then. And then one of the advantages I did have is I didn't have binos back then. So I just saw the bird, tried to look at whatever's there, went back home and look in the book. So it kind of got me into the habit of looking for field marks. So I think that kind of helped me become a better birder, I guess. Which still, I think I'm not a better birder yet. But anyways, it propelled me into doing it. But then for my master's, I kind of got this opportunity to study birds of one of the mountainous region of Nepal. So I basically looked at elevational diversity from 1600 meters up to 5,500 meters, so almost 17,000 feet.
Wow.
And it was really fascinating to find birds up in 17,000 feet. So that's how kind of got into it.
So, barn owl. You had a barn owl family that you grew up with?
So I think I technically never saw the nestlings there, but there used to be two of them and they were around all the time. So I suspect that there was a nest nearby, but yeah, we never saw the nest or the nestling. But yep, there was a family apparently because there was two of them. So.
And that was throughout your childhood?
Yep, almost throughout. I remember it from my school days up to my college days. So I don't know if it's the same bird or not, but they were there for at least 7-8 years. And then afterwards we stopped seeing them. But there was also after a time that there was this barn behind our house and I think they just destroyed it. Something happened to it. And then after that they weren't around. So.
Oh, I see. So you would call that your spark bird?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. That's a great one. I've still never seen a barn owl in my life.
So for my US, I think, I don't know if we have time to do this, but I will tell you a fun story. So I was birding South Texas and one of our postdoc from my previous lab, we were driving back to our place where we're staying, Airbnb. She's driving and talking about some stuff. Her name is Rebecca. And then she was talking about I don't remember something. We were talking about something. But then this barn owl beautifully flies in front of our car and then looks at us and then goes away. And we both were like, oh. Wow. That's how I got our barn owl for the US, which was amazing.
Oh, wow. That's a memorable encounter.
Yeah, middle of the county highway somewhere in Texas. So that was awesome.
Yeah, how cool. Great spark bird. Okay, you live in North Dakota, but were born and raised in Nepal. So what kind of birding tour would you recommend to someone visiting Nepal for the first time? What are sort of the Cantonese birds and
Hmm.
spots for a first-time visitor?
Yeah, so one of the interesting thing about Nepal, and one thing that I've realized is in the US most people are not aware of it, except for like I think one of the thing that you had is like Nepal is known for being mountainous. Like what else is there? So people think about mountains when people think about Nepal. But the easiest way I like to describe Nepal to people here who don't know about Nepal is we're Texas in the south to North Dakota or even Montana's mountain in the north, spread between like 100 miles. So if you go south of the Nepal border, kind of like bordering India, it's around 250 or 300 feet. So again, I'm bad with feet, but it's 70 meters. 70 meters elevation in the south to
Oh, wow.
8,000 meters in the north.
Wow.
In a span of 1,000 miles, or it's 100 miles, sorry, 100 miles.
Drastic difference.
I know, yeah. So if you want to specifically go for birding in Nepal, I would say like plan it in a way that you do the southern birds, like the subtropical temperate birds, the hill birds. So there's like the flatlands, almost like North Dakota in the south, mid hills, which is like Denver, Colorado area, and then the mountainous area. So if you kind of do a flatlands and then the mid hills and then the mountain, you get like variety of birds, like Arctic specialist to tropical area especially. So I think I would plan it accordingly, like hit all those three spots, get really good birds.
You're from Kathmandu, right?
Mhm.
What's the urban birding like there?
It's really good actually. And I think like even in the US you see this trend on eBird wherever like Fargo relatively, so in terms of North Dakota, Western North Dakota has really good birding spot, but it's not heavily birded because of population, right? So like Fargo has not a lot of birders, but it's still Fargo, Cass County is heavily birded. And then that's true for like everywhere in the US. Like small places are
Mm-hmm.
not birded much.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
Kathmandu is really well birded. But if you go to the western or eastern part of the country, it's not super birded. And I think in terms of eBird right now, because it's really easy to look at the data, Kathmandu is like one of the best destinations to bird in Nepal. And technically, we almost are at 900 species of birds right now. I think we're like 899, and there's one more confirmation left, so it'll go to 900. But for a small country, so one of the thing to like North Dakota is 2.3 times larger than Nepal. So we're a really tiny country and
Mm-hmm.
we have
Mm-hmm.
like 900 species. And
Wow.
within those 900 species, Kathmandu has about 570, I think. So that's a lot of birds.
You don't ever have to leave Kathmandu.
No, if you want to hit like 400s, 500, you don't have to. It's crazy. And then there's a small, so it's kind of like a ball. It's almost like Denver to some extent, but like
Okay.
really like mountainous all around. And then
Mm-hmm.
we're a valley in between. And there's like forest, there's like lakes, there's kind of like grassland area. So you get bunch of like all of those birds in there.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Mm-hmm.
good habitat. Yeah.
Very cool. It occurred to me that there's some logistical issues about birding in Nepal in terms of the elevation and just in terms of sheer getting to locations. What are the challenges there?
So as long as you're fit enough to walk, you're kind of fine. So most of the Himalayan places where we like trekking destinations or just mountains usually have something called a tea house. So you don't need to be camping. You can just go to one of their tea house and they have like rooms with bed and everything. So you can just use that. You're free to camp if you want, but you don't need to because like even if you go to Everest Base Camp, so 2 hours away from the base camp, there are like 10 or not, I won't say 10, like there's like three houses that have rooms, multiple rooms, so you can just stay in one of those rooms.
Okay.
So technically there you should not worry about camping, the weather and all of this stuff. Like weather maybe you should, but then you don't have to freeze out in the wilderness, but you can still stay in the room. So the I was telling this to someone yesterday because like when I saw raven in Fargo, I was like really surprised because we don't get ravens down south. To get a
Mm-hmm.
raven in Nepal, you have to go higher than 13,000, 14,000 feet. So if you want to like get all of the like species that are spread across the or the Nepal area, you should start in southern part, go to the mid hills, and then go to the Himalayas to get all those finches and then the choughs and vultures and stuff.
So, is there a sort of a elevation cutoff for seeing birds? Because I know some of these birds can really handle
Hmm.
high elevations and I guess low oxygen. Like I'm thinking like maybe snowcocks or
Yep. Yep.
um,
Even chukars, snowcock chukars, there's some ascenters and the raven, and then there's, I think I already mentioned choughs. So my master's thesis was looking at how the species diversity or richness varies across elevation gradient in Nepal, and I started from 1600 meters and went up to 5600 meters, so almost 18,000 feet. And I was surprised that even at 5500, 54 to 5500 meters, there were at least six or seven different species. So raven, the snowcocks, then chukar, and then alpine accentor, which is really tiny songbird. And there was something else, like there was a vulture, I think, but the vultures can fly really high. But there's definitely at least five or six species of birds that high.
Interesting. So yeah, and part of the reason I asked this is like you want to see these birds, but like maybe you have to take some real precautions in terms of like adapting your body to the
Definitely.
high elevation. Yeah.
And there's like I've seen a lot of people who've never been to a mountain and come from like LA or something. I had a friend from LA who went to Nepal and did a small mountain there. So you just need to like work hard or like exercise before you go. Just be in shape before you do it. But it's not that you can't do it. You should definitely be able to. But just don't rush it or like try to go fast. If you're like if there's like a signs of altitude sickness or something, maybe stay for a day. If not, like descend down and then go back again. But there is a way to do it, but you should be fine as long as you practice those.
Let's talk about the national bird of Nepal, the Himalayan Monal. What can you tell us about that bird? And do you think it's a good representative of Nepal? Did they choose well?
I would say so, but also so most of my hardcore birding happened when I got to the US because I got exposed to the more birding culture here, like it's more, I would say extreme, like almost extreme. But in Nepal, I was like a bird watcher. I used to watch birds, but now when I came to the US, I'm more into like birding. I want to like hit this spot, this and that, like just go crazy about it.
You leveled up.
Leveled up, exactly. But back home, it was kind of different. I'm not 100% certain because like I don't know much of the birds in terms of like what are the representative birds for the country. But it's just a brilliant bird to see in the mountains. And if like mountain represents Nepal, so maybe that is a good bird, But there are some other cool birds that are really specific for the mountain. So maybe we could have picked that or like picked some bird. So like the Eurasian hoopie would be a nice bird too, or hoopoe, Eurasian hoopoe, because I found that bird from 70 meters in the south to like 4,500 meters in the north. So, and I don't know how you pick a state bird or national bird, but I was in Texas, I think, and someone told me that the reason Texas state bird is a mockingbird is because it's found in every single county. So maybe that's how they decide or something, right? If that's the case, maybe the hoopoe would be a better choice. But in terms, I don't know how they or why they picked that bird though. That's an interesting thing. I would love to find out. I don't know that.
Well, for people who have never seen it, and I had to look it up myself, and I'm looking at this bird, and it's brilliantly colored, reds and greens, blue, and the thing that came to mind was like a painted bunting of pheasants.
Oh yeah.
Just in the striking amount of colors.
Exactly, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
That jump out. So it's easy to see why, like if the male, this is the male we're talking about. Why you would see that bird and think that is incredible looking. Yeah. And that would make a good.
Maybe that's why he picked it too. And I think it's a good representative birds for Nepal. And like one of the thing too, like to find that bird, you have to go higher than 2,200 meters and up to like 4,500 meters. So like really high elevation bird.
So not a super easy bird to get.
Not really. So it's more like if you know where to look for, you're going to get it.
Okay.
So if you go in like, I know a spot in one of the mountainous place called Langtang, and if I go there at like 6:30 a.m. in March, I'm going to find like 20 of those. Okay. But then if I'm like somewhere else where they're not in good numbers or not the right habitat, then you're not going to find it.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So it's not exactly like finding like a white ptarmigan in the snow.
No. So I think it just depends on finding the right place or being at the right time. So one of my friend Aubrey visited me in Nepal when I was in Nepal 2 years ago, and she really wanted to see Monal, but I wanted to maximize the number of birds she gets, so we went to this region called Annapurna, and it's not hard to get them there, but it's just like very localized. But if the next time she's going with me, she wants to find the Monal, so I'm taking her to Langtang, where I know she's going to get it.
Great.
But in Annapurna, you'd have to work hard to get it, and we did work hard, but it was just not the around.
Right.
Yep.
It's always helpful to have a guide. We touched on this. When people think of Nepal, they think mountains, and you have the mountain range in the world. Talk a little bit more about the non-elevation related habitat. Like, okay, so I don't think people are going to think necessarily ducks or maybe shorebirds. That's not going to come to mind when they're thinking of Nepal. But what's the kind of mix that you get? It sounds like it's pretty varied.
Yep. I would say even in terms of like ducks and shorebirds, I think it's almost comparable to what you guys have here. We have
Okay.
like bunch of ducks. So one of the funny, or not funny, like interesting thing too is like all these Siberian ducks and migratory birds that go from like Siberia. So like let's say Canada to Texas or South America. That's what they're doing there. But from Siberia, Russia down to India, Sri Lanka, or any of those tropics down there below, they're going to stop in Nepal. So we have this huge block of mountain range. It's like 1400 kilometers of mountain range that blocks or that borders Tibet and Nepal. So every bird that's coming through is going to go over that. They're going to go around it too, but there's two birds, so the bar-headed geese and the demoiselle crane, that actually go over Mount Everest or go over the mountains. So
Wow.
when they do that, they have to land somewhere and take a rest. And then we have bunch of like lakes, as I said before, and then that those are some of the places where we get bunch of ducks. Like all the migratory ducks are stopping there. And on the eastern part of Nepal, in the southern plains, there's a place called Kositapu Wildlife Reserve. It's one of the best places to see the migratory ducks and even shorebirds. So right off the top of my head, I don't remember how many species of ducks we have, but the Birds of Nepal book basically has like 7 to 8 pages of like ducks. So we do have bunch of ducks, bunch of shorebirds. Yeah, so interestingly, we do have dunlins there. When I found that out, I
Wow.
was like, that's awesome. Like they're just everywhere. But yeah, we do have decent number of ducks and shorebirds.
How about what's the raptor scene like?
Raptors, good number of raptors
Yeah.
too. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
so the one that overlaps over here is we have the golden eagle. I think that's one that overlaps
Oh,
here. Oh, interestingly, owls. So I love owls. And then US is big, and I think we have like 19 species of owls in the US,
oh
or 18
wow.
or 19. But
Oh,
back
yeah,
home,
here.
yeah, back home we
Mm.
have 23 or 24, so even
Oh
more
wow.
than here. So,
Wow, no kidding.
which is crazy. Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
All right. Well, you're definitely selling your home country.
Yeah, or vultures. Since you talked about raptors, we have like 9 different species of vultures too. And
Nine
then,
different species of
yep,
vulture.
and then lots of acceptors, lot of buteos. So we have a spread of birds. Like I think it's almost comparable to here, the bird.
Osprey?
Yep, we do have that one. Yeah,
Yeah. Seems
crazy
like
how
it's
spread out they are.
osprey are everywhere.
Yeah, I actually got my first osprey of the year in Nepal. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
So, what's the conservation culture like in Nepal? Is there a strong movement to protect birds and wildlife and nature in general?
Birds, not so much, but in terms of conservation, Nepal kind of like is one of the well-known countries for conservation because they've done a lot of work with rhinos and tigers and
Hmm.
even wild elephants. But one of the thing that I always get sad about is like birds don't get the same attention as those birds, and they're
Right.
supposed to be the flagship species too. And there's a lot of money in tiger conservation and rhino, but in
Uh,
birds there isn't much. And there's been a lot of like ornithologists who've been doing really good work, especially with the vultures. So at one point, all of the vultures, or most of the vultures, were almost gone. But due to their conservation effort, now they're like getting back in good numbers. But in general, yes, for conservation in terms of other animals, not so much for birds.
what was it that led to the vulture decline? Was it hunting or a mix of things?
No, so they usually like feed on cattle, dead cattle and stuff, but people used to use this medicine called diclofenac on them, and then whenever the vultures were eating the dead animals that had diclofenac in them, their kidney failed and they were dying of kidney failure. Yep.
I see.
Yep, and in 2008 or something like around early 2000s, they banned diclofenac, and after that, they're just like getting better again.
Oh, good. I love conservation success stories, so it's good to hear about the vultures
Yep.
rebounding. And I imagine with the animals like tigers and elephants, is there a lot of tourism around those larger?
Yeah, not as much as I would expect to. I think like our government is not super into like promoting stuff. I don't know why, but then every time people think about tiger, they think about India or like Bangladesh. But we have 200 or more than 200 and 300 something tigers and 500 rhinoceros. But like we never get on the map of like tigers and rhinoceros. But yeah.
Okay. Full disclosure to our listeners, our last recording session cut out halfway through, and Anuj has been gracious enough to agree to re-record the second half. I probably wouldn't bring this up, but it relates to question number 6, because I think it's changed. The question is, what are your life counts, both in the US and Nepal, and your latest lifers in both countries?
So my latest life count for the US had changed since we last talked. As we said, I think it was 491 last time we talked. It's 494 now, and for Nepal, it's still the same. It's 383. But yeah, so the last time we talked, it was a whooping crane that I found in north central ND. But then this past weekend, I drove to Iowa and stopped at Minneapolis, and I got cerulean warbler. Surprised that they were even in Minneapolis area, and then the blue-winged warbler and the yellow-throated warbler in Iowa, which was also a big surprise. Like I wasn't even looking for one. So those are my recent lifers. The last one being the yellow-throated warbler.
That is a great trio of warblers to get. Was that all on the same day?
Yeah, the cerulean and blue-wing Saturday morning, and then Sunday morning was the yellow-throated. So yep.
Let me guess. You were by some moving water, surrounded by sycamore trees or something like that.
I don't think there was sycamore tree, but there was like a river, small creek or river nearby. So yeah.
For the cerulean and the yellow-throated especially.
Yeah, so the yellow-throated, we almost missed out on it because like my wife just got here a few months ago or a month ago. She doesn't know much of the US birds, and we were walking through this park and I've been hearing this yellow-throated video, so I've just been like ignoring it because we've seen those bunch.
Mm-hmm.
It was singing far, like I would definitely look at it, but she saw something and she was like, oh, I see this bird with yellow on the throat. And I was like, it must be a yellow-throated video. And she's just like, I think it also has like streakings or something. And I was like, the video does not have that. So what is
Right.
that? Look at it. And I look at it and it's a yellow-throated warbler. And I didn't even know they were there.
How cool. It was way high up in the tree.
It was kind of like mid-story. It was
Yeah.
story, and after that it just started singing too, and I was like, oh, I know what this is. Then there were two of them and they started kind of like getting along the tree, so we did get a really good look.
Great, because I haven't gotten a good look this year at all. They've just been stubbornly hanging up way high up in the canopy.
Yeah. And same with the cerulean. I was losing my hope on that one, like on finding it, and I was not even looking for a cerulean, and it was just there. So which is awesome.
Did you find it by its song, or did you spot it?
So no, we heard it first. So we heard it first, and I had no idea what it was when I heard it. So we tried to find it, and then at one point we were like, I don't know, let's Merlin it, and then we Merlin it. But at the same time, we saw the neckline from under it. It was moving around, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, that is a cerulean. And we got a really good look at it, and also got a photo to confirm it. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
Cerulean is a wonderful bird to get here, but they do breed here in Allegheny County in Pennsylvania. That's a bit of a rarity in North Dakota, or you were in Minneapolis.
And then I don't know. Like later, I checked eBird, and they're supposed to be there once in a while and stuff. But this year, I think that was one of the few recording in at least that park. But apparently, they're there. I just didn't look for it. I guess I thought they were more East Coast from there. But yeah.
Wow. Well, congratulations. Those are really 3 wonderful warblers.
Yeah. I only need 6 more warblers in the US now. So
for the whole US.
Yep. And then I have 494 for my lifer, so maybe those 6 warblers is what I get.
bring you up to 500. Yeah, that would be awesome. So just going back to the whooping crane a little bit. You saw that in North Dakota.
Yep. It was about 1.5 hour west of Fargo. By not even maybe like 1 hour. It was near Valley City in a lake called Hobart Lake. And they do pass through North Dakota from time to time in the migration season. Like they're not super hard to get here. It's just that I had never chased one. But I was out west for work, and then I saw the post and I was like, man, I'm going home anyway, so I might check it. And it was right there.
Yeah, that's good. It's nice when a bird like that shows up because you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time looking for it. It's kind of...
That's true.
It's big and right there.
Yeah. Not hard to see, not hard to ID even.
Exactly. Well, cool. Well, those are 4 amazing gets. So congratulations. And what about your latest lifer in Nepal?
So my latest lifer in Nepal was the tiny bird called yellow-breasted flower picker. I was helping my wife for her field work. She is also an ornithologist, and she was doing her field work in the urban birds of Kathmandu Valley. So we're birding in this really good park in kind of outside of Kathmandu, and she sees this tiny bird on the top of the tree, and she's like, "Oh, what is that?" And it was like black late. I didn't see the whole bird or anything without my binos, but I saw the shape, and I was like, "It should be a flower picker of some kind." And then I was like, maybe let's look at it. And I look at it, it has a beautiful like yellow on the chest. And I was like, oh, that's a yellow-throated flower picker. So that was my latest lifer in Nepal.
So I'm looking at this bird, and maybe some listeners like me are unfamiliar with it, but it looks like a small songbird.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of a brilliant yellow belly. It's really pretty. How big is it?
I would say kind of slightly bigger than a kinglet, maybe. Or
Okay.
almost similar shape. I think I would say it's slightly bigger than a kinglet.
And in terms of behavior, is it a really active
It is
forager?
an active bird. So it's almost like I'm trying to think of a bird that would be similar here, but I would say kinglet too. But they're kind of like hopping around in branches, moving really fast, trying to get like those insects or whatever. And their song is also really peculiar, like it's a really high pitched song. So I was like, oh yeah, that's a beautiful bird. But yeah, top story or higher story bird just move around a lot trying to get those insects.
Oh, beautiful. Tell us about flower peckers as a family, or what would you compare them to in the U.S.?
I don't know actually. They so like most of the flower pickers are cool. The cool ones at least kind of look like hummingbirds to some extent with their
Oh,
beaks
okay.
and things. But I don't think they're comparable to them. But I would still think I don't know much about them, but I think they're still going for those like nectars and stuff too
Mm-hmm.
at times. So probably comparable to hummingbirds, I would say. But I don't know much about them to say that.
Yeah,
Yep.
interesting. Yeah, I don't either, but I hope to see one someday because it's a really stunning bird.
Look like hummingbirds with their long beaks, I guess, but definitely not hummingbirds.
I re-listened to your ABA podcast with Frank Izagiri, and we were kind of left hanging as an audience about a certain bird that has frustrated you,
Yep.
called the summer tanager. So I think we need an update on your summer tanager quest. Have you managed to track it down?
So interestingly, if we had, or if the one that we did before had worked out, people would still not know that I finally got it in the county. But last time we talked, I didn't have it. But as soon as I came back from Fargo, like 2 or 4 days later, there was one in a park here. So we went to look at that, and I got it. So I finally have a summer tanager for the county after 8 years. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So when we last talked, you had gotten your lifer summer tanager,
Yes. In Arizona. Yep.
but you remained frustrated about
Yep.
getting one locally.
Yep.
But
And then it happened. It
excellent. So
was
you,
awesome.
how did it feel?
It felt really good because like I don't think I've chased anything like the summer tanizer, and at one point I'm like I don't think I'll get it, and I think there was 3 sightings before that, and we went to look for it and never got it. So I was like, yeah, it's never going to happen. I really thought I'm never going to see that bird in this county. I don't know why, but I was like, I'm done. Like after this, I'm not even going to try.
All right. Well, I'm relieved for you on your behalf. So congratulations.
Now I'm going to go with the yellow-billed cuckoo for my nemesis bird because I've been
Yellow-billed
chasing that
cuckoo.
one for a while too. So
That is a good nemesis. And I've learned over the years that you can't chase cuckoos.
yep,
You
I've
can't
learned
do
that.
it.
Even black-billed, not even yellow-billed, just cuckoos.
Yeah, exactly. I chased a black-billed cuckoo in Michigan when we lived there many times and never found it. And then one day I was sitting in my office at home looking out the window, not birding or anything, just sort of absently looking out the window. And then at the edge of the woods, a nice sized slender looking bird with a long tail landed. I grabbed my binoculars because I always have them handy and looked out. Black-billed cuckoo came to me. So I think that's just how it goes with a lot of birds, but especially with cuckoos.
And that's funny too. Like back home, even before I was a birder, the noisiest birds in summer are the cuckoos back home. They're just like really noisy, like singing all the time. There's like at least 3 common ones that are found where I'm from, and then in summer they're just everywhere. And here, I think they're different too. Like they're not the same family or something. The different type of cuckoos, I think. But still, like ours are really vocal, and here they're not much.
Yeah, they can be. It seems like they'll pipe up
Hmm.
loudly for a second, and
Hmm.
you're like, oh, there's a cuckoo. And
Yeah,
then silence.
yeah. You have to be at the right place in the right time.
Yep. Yeah. They're a mysterious bird.
Yeah.
Aloof, but beautiful. So, but good luck conquering your
Thank
new
you.
nemesis. Back to North Dakota, where you live and work. Tell us about North Dakota as a birding state. What does it have to offer? 'Cause I think, North Dakota may not be on everyone's radar as a birding destination, but tell us what someone who wants to visit North Dakota can expect.
Yeah. So the first thing everyone hears about when they hear about North Dakota, or like anything about Fargo, North Dakota, or just general North Dakota, they're like, it's cold, so they don't expect there to be any birds here. And then I had one friend who came to North Dakota from Arizona, and then when we were talking about birding stuff, and he was like, "Are there even birds here?" And I was like, "Of course there are birds here."
Oh, come on.
he, 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 in terms of like he's a birder too, so he meant like, are there any good numbers of
Yeah.
birds here? And I
Yeah.
was like, of course we have good numbers of birds. So I made him guess what our total state number was, and I think he did like 200 something, but our state record is 420, 21, I think, or somewhere around that line. So that is a lot of birds. And then I was like, you need to come here during spring or summer. So he was here for that time, and he was surprised at how many good birds we get, even in terms of like waterfowls or just ducks in general, or like shorebirds. We get huge number of really good shorebirds up here, and even the migrating warblers too. Like we get really good number of warblers. So it's never on your alert or radar for birding in North Dakota, but between the east part of the state and the western part, you really get good number of birds. So like lazuli bunting, black-headed grosbeak, or like field sparrows. Field sparrows might not be really fun for people where there's a lot of them, but like in the outer west part of the country, there's really good birds out there. So
I can imagine, never having been to North Dakota, I think a lot of meadows and meadow birds, be around. Maybe a lot of grouse and sparrows, but in terms of like waterfowl and sandpipers and those kind of birds, like you have Minnesota, which has all the lakes, famous for all the lakes and the bodies of water. But I don't think we necessarily think of that when we think of North Dakota. So what kind of places are waterfowl and water birds showing up in North Dakota?
So apparently, I didn't know this until I moved here too, and my understanding would have been the same. But most of the North American ducks apparently just breed in North Dakota and whatever state is north of here in Canada. So like South Dakota, North Dakota is almost like the duck factory of the US. So we have everything in here. And usually in the summer, I could never go out of the state because I was just busy working in the field. But after I was done with my PhD, we went to Michigan to look for some look for the Kirtland's warbler. Actually, we went there for that, and I was going with one of the really good birders from North Dakota, Keith, who's been birding in this part for like forever. And then we went out west, Minnesota, and then Wisconsin and Michigan, and we saw a bunch of lakes, but not a lot of dogs. And I was like, why aren't there dogs here? And he's like, they're not going to be around like here. Like all of the dogs are going to be in North Dakota. You're not going to see as many ducks as you see in North Dakota.
Huh.
So I was kind of spoiled by how many ducks we see in our lakes. And as we went east, I was like, I don't see anything. And I was surprised that like most of them just are here all the time.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I never would have guessed that.
Exactly. So I had never thought about that either. And I don't know. I've never birded South Dakota in summer. So maybe South Dakota is like that too. But in Minnesota too, you kind of get these small lakes with bunch of ducks. But at least in North Dakota, there's like every single lake has bunch of ducks right now. There's just breeding there. So there's a lagoons out north from here about 10 15 not even 10 miles, like 7 miles north of my apartment, and there will be eared grebes in like huge number breeding there, like 200 300 eared
Wow.
grebes. Yeah.
How cool. We had a bufflehead show up here in Allegheny County yesterday, I think it was, and that was like rare bird alert, triggers the rare bird alert. So our migrating ducks are pretty much long gone now, but now I know where they are.
Yeah, and I can't think of all the species right now, but any ducks you think of, they're going to be here. Like American black duck, hard to get.
Hmm.
They're around from time to time, but most of the other ones that you can think of are going through North Dakota or staying here for breeding.
Okay, cool. That's a good tip. If you want some ducks in the summer, go to North Dakota.
Yep.
Awesome.
And even pheasant. So like I don't know, pheasant is not a hard bird to get for people, but sharp-tailed grouse and pheasants are in really good numbers here.
Which of the pheasant species are you able to get there?
Oh, the ringneck. So the ringnecks are in
Ringnecks.
really good number, but people don't usually worry about them. They're everywhere. But in terms of hunting, which I did not know much about too, like people come to North Dakota for the ringneck pheasant and sharp-tailed grouse hunting too, apparently, because it's really good out here. So.
How about prairie chickens?
Oof, they're pretty hard. So I don't have prairie chicken for my county because they're really hard to get in our area. But as soon as you go like 15 mile east of here, so that would be Minnesota, there's this state park called Buffalo River State Park. They're in good numbers there. There's a beautiful lake with at least 50, 60 birds every year. But in North Dakota, they're relatively harder to find, I think. But they're easier as you go west and kind of south. I know of a lake kind of south of Fargo area, 1 hour south in a different county. And I have been a county birder mostly, so I haven't
Hmm.
birded there. But I do need it for the state too. Like I haven't
Uh,
seen a prairie chicken in the state, but they're around. Like they're not in huge numbers, I think, but there's definitely around.
talk to me about the state bird of North Dakota. I wrote a Substack post about all the state birds
Hmm.
and what I think of the choices that were made. And North Dakota is one that I would change. Uh,
Yeah.
just because there's nothing wrong with the bird, which is the western meadowlark,
Mhm.
but it is the state bird of, I think, 5 states.
7 or yeah, 6.
Oh, is it
Yeah,
7? Yeah, it's
I think you're right. I think it might be 5 because cardinal is 7 or something like that. So.
yes, Cardinal is another one, and I just think it's not cool to have
Mhm.
repeats. So if you were to pick one, what do you think? I think my choice as a recommendation was the yellow-breasted chat.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah.
What ideas would you have for a state bird for North Dakota?
Yeah, so I've definitely talked about this with other birders here too, and I was like, I think we need to like change this to a bird that's really representative of our state. And for me, I think it would be the bird sparrow.
Barred sparrow.
Yep. And I know that like they can be elsewhere too, but I most of the people that I meet while birding in Texas or Arizona or something, and they're like, "Where are you from?" I'm from North Dakota. They go, "Oh, I went to North Dakota to get my bird sparrow and Sprague's pipit." So people do come here for just getting that sparrow. So I think it's like a bird that breeds here and can be found in relatively good numbers. So maybe that's what we should go with.
Don't know a lot about that bird. Tell us about Baird sparrow, where it likes to hang out and what it looks like.
I don't know much about that bird too. I've only seen it once, but I think it's like it likes grassland, kind of like
Uh,
sparse, not super tall, like about a feet or less, sparse grasslandy area. And apparently, it took me a while to get them to like I chased it for like about 3 years or something. But before that, I didn't know where to look for. And my current supervisor Tori is really good with like grassland birds because he
mhm.
works with grassland birds all. And then we went out to this one place in outer North Dakota, western North Dakota called Hettinger, and we went to this field and we're looking for it. And he's like, "Yeah, they're not going to be here. I see some sparse stuff or like whatever they're supposed to be." And I forgot. I think it's supposed to be sparse, but he was like, they're going to be out there. So we start walking there and we hear it as soon as we're close to it. So like, I think they're really like habitat specific birds, but they're beautiful, just like any birds or whatever they call those, like brown, yellow, or not brown jobs, little brown jobs. That's what they're called.
Little brown jobs, right?
If I remember well, it has that like kind of a necklacey thing, and then like a really like well patterned face is what I remember. But yeah, I might have to check upon my thing. But I think they have this like necklace thing that kind of gives it away.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it does have like a some streaking, almost like
Yeah,
in a Canada warbler kind of way.
yeah, I think they call it like a necklace or something that
Hmm.
goes down there. Yep, and then I might be wrong because I don't remember the field marks right now because I don't see it much. But I think they also have like a supercilium that kind of like mustardy, but as not mustardy as in grasshopper sparrow.
Exactly. Yeah, or like reminiscent of maybe Henslows or
Kind of. Yep. Yep.
Nelsons, those the kind of buff or
Yep.
yellowish
Yep.
markings on the side of the head. Yeah, it's a pretty bird. Baird sparrow is the new state bird for North Dakota.
Hopefully.
I join you. I'll put my vote for that too. Yeah, you work at North Dakota State University.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about what you do there in terms of your research.
So I'm currently working as a research specialist at the School of Natural Resource Sciences, and as I mentioned before, like my supervisor's lab kind of works on grassland birds. So
Mhm.
basically, in central North Dakota and western North Dakota, they're looking at like how prescribed burns, so prescribed fires, affects the grassland like community structure and affects pollinators and birds. So basically, that's what they're looking at, and I'm kind of most on the bird side, but I don't have my project going on right now. But I'm trying to like help with whatever's around. That's what I'm doing. But for my PhD at NDSU, I looked at how different forms of environmental stress affects house sparrow nestlings, growth, and lifespan. So that's what my PhD was on.
How stresses affect nestlings. So what kind of stresses will we be talking about?
So we're just trying to look at like with the climate change and stuff, all of those environmental pressures are changing species, and I wanted to look at like just in terms of like what's environment doing to it, or what kind of environmental stress has effects on their growth, like just growth or survival or lifespan. So to kind of mimic that, we basically had those nestling in a bag for 1 hour every day from day 2 to day 10, and people have found that doing that kind of accelerates their telomere loss because there's like some hormonal change. So like the more cork you have, the more stressful it is for them, and then that's going to affect your telomeres, which are basically this marker that can be a signature for lifespan. So I was just looking into that, and the second thing that I tried was like cooling their eggs for 3 hours every day until
Oh,
they hatched, and then I also wanted to warm those eggs from throughout the incubation period. That thing did not work out. So like those were kind of the stresses we're looking at. So warmer temperature, cooler temperature, or just being stressed out and by being in a bag, so they're not getting food for a while, and they're like not in the warm nest environment or something. So basically just trying to mimic whatever might be happening in environment and how that thing is affecting the birds.
oh, okay. So you mentioned that your own research is on hold right now, and you're helping with other projects.
So technically, it's not on hold. I'm still in this project, but right now, I don't. Since I joined recently, I don't have a project of my own, but I'm just
Mhm.
helping with whatever projects that's going on in the lab.
And so you would continue with that research from your
Yeah,
dissertation.
eventually. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
from your
Um,
PhD. Yeah.
I do. At one point, I do want to go back to Nepal and kind of continue doing that, but as of right now, I don't know when that's going to happen. So.
What are your long-term professional goals? And you mentioned you want to work in Nepal.
Yep. So ornithology hasn't been a big thing back home. Like there are a lot of like I won't say a lot of like there's few people who've been working on birds in Nepal for the last few decades and stuff, and we have new young ornithologists coming on studying them too. But still, we have so many species, so many questions that can be asked about like how much varied. Considering how much variation there is in landscape in Nepal, I think I talked about this previously, but I don't know if it's in the cut part or not. But Nepal goes from like 72 meters in the south to 8,000 meters in the north within a span of 100 miles. And we have about, so recently we got 900 species of bird. And for a country that's 2.3 times smaller than North Dakota, 900 is a lot of birds. So
It's kind of
900 is
mind-blowing,
a lot of
actually.
birds. And then we have some species that are found at that 72 meters, and so it's a hoopoe, it's a Eurasian hoopoe. I found it at 72 meters, and also found it at like 4,800 meters. That's almost like 16,000 feet. So for the same stuff that I do, like what are their brood sizes across elevation gradient? What are their survival rates across elevation gradient? What are the body sizes like that? So I want to go back and study all of this stuff, kind of relating to my PhD. So
That's astonishing to me. It seems like a very adaptive bird, but then I wonder if that difference in elevation create subspecies? Like
Definitely.
would a hoopoe that
Hmm.
lives at a low elevation be able to thrive at a high elevation if it wasn't born there? Or
Yeah, that's a great question too. And like my wife is interested in looking into that, and she's kind of trying to find a PhD right now. But that's what she's interested in. Like we have these landmarks, we have these mountains that are like barriers, and there hasn't been gene overflow. Or, I'm not a genetics person, but like genetic flow between these species for a long time, maybe. So are they diverting or diverging into different species? The one that lives in the flatlands has oxygen rich environment versus the one
Mhm.
that lives at 4800, are they like diverging into different species or even subspecies or something like that, like how different they are compared to their counterparts in the south? So that's what she's interested in, and my research aligns in the similar kind of fashion too. So I think we're like combine those and just keep on those working on those birds. And one of the things that I really want to work on too, if I can, is when I came to the US and found out like how many migrating birds you guys have kept track of. I want to know that about Nepal too. Like
Mhm.
people haven't worked there a lot, and one thing I'm really jealous about, not just birding community but also like research community here, is a lot of like what kind of birds pass through the east coast, and then when they go
Yeah.
back they go through west or the center or whatever. All of those stuff. Back home we don't know that, so I want to know that, like like what kind of species are flying from Siberia on their way to Africa through Nepal, or like to Sri Lanka or wherever they're going. I want to do that. So like maybe ban some birds, put some tracker on them, and see what's happening.
I was gonna say, is that a matter of setting up banding stations
Yep.
and just
Yep.
getting trackers on those birds
Yeah.
and really expanding that kind of
Exactly. Yeah.
operation
And
in Nepal?
how it's interesting that I don't know what it was for. I was researching some stuff about migrating birds in Nepal, or not Nepal, just in general Asia, and I found out that even in China, for such a big nation, they kind of didn't have an idea about what the cuckoos did until like 2019 or something, and they banned this
Hmm.
cuckoo, and it was global news apparently back then. But then that cuckoo went down. Kind of to Nepal area. I stayed there for a few days. Went to India, and it flew to Africa, and that's when they found out that like the cuckoos in China go to Africa during winter,
Wow.
which is crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, even
Yeah.
for like a big country, the ornithology scene there is not super good. So there's so many good species we have, and I want to know just what's happening out there.
Good. So go back to Nepal and be on the cutting edge of that kind of
Yeah.
research
Yep.
from your homeland. That's great. I'm excited to follow your career and see that develop.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, that's your long-term professional vision. What are your long-term birding goals?
So one of the goals that I've had for a while, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not, is I want to see 5,000 birds before I die, and I'm only at 890, or sorry, 843 or something right now. I should double check that, but I will check it as we talk. But I don't have a lot of birds. 872. Sorry, I think I remember 872. So long way to go. But for the US, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I do want to get to 550 or if
Hmm.
possible 600. But 600 seems like really hard right now. But maybe 550 is still possible because I haven't birded East Coast. I don't have any alcids. Like I have zero alcids. I don't have any of those like
Yeah, yeah.
pelagic birds except for water. So I think like 550 is still possible, but I would love to get to like 600 for the US, 5,000 for the world, and for Nepal, I want to see, or I won't say all of them, but I would love to see as
Yeah,
many birds
yeah.
as I can see.
So backing up to the U.S. for a second, have you hit a lot of the places where you could expect to like really rack up large numbers, like South Texas, Florida, California?
I have. So Florida, I could not bird much, so that's why I didn't pick up a lot. But South Texas, I was just birding, and again, like birding, you can look on eBird and it'll show like 100 possibility for lifer, but you end up getting five. So it was like one of those trips where I got decent number of birds. Like I think I got a few lifers, but again, it, I think you have to live in a place to get all of those whatever like less than three
Yeah,
frequency birds or something to get long term, and it's all about the timing too. But when I was in South Texas, I did get the gray collar Bacard, which was the second
wow,
sighting in the US. So like I got, yep, it
you were
was
there
just
at the
there,
right
and
time.
yeah, and then someone found it, and there was a small group trying to find it too, and we found that one. So that one was really good. So I ended up finding that was something that was really hard. But the kingfisher was kind of like a guaranteed bird down there, but we didn't get it. So, the green kingfisher I saw.
right?
So I didn't see that, but I saw a pocard. So like birding is like that, So if I go to South Texas again, maybe I'll get more birds, or Florida, or even Southeast
Right.
Arizona. So there are still some good birds that have been hard to get in my trips in Arizona, but maybe I'll go there, or like East Coast, or just a pelagic out of like East Coast. Would be
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Sometimes that's what it takes is getting on a boat.
Yep.
Those birds are hard to identify.
Yes. Those shearwaters. I think we got like 6 shearwaters out of like San Diego pelagic trip, and I was like, thank God there was like a guide with us. If not, I would not be able to tell what those are. It was so hard, and for some reason, every time I thought about shearwaters, I had never seen it before that, and I thought they were like big birds, like a ring-billed side gull or something. That was my expectation without even looking at the photos. Like photos can be deceiving, and I was like, when I saw them, I was like, they're like sparrow-sized birds.
Isn't that funny how we have these preconceived notions about birds that we
Yeah.
haven't seen? Somebody tweeted
Yeah.
once a long time ago, and it always stuck with me. And the tweet was something like, and I don't remember who it was, but it was something like, birds are either smaller than you think or bigger than you think.
I agree. I agree. If someone before my trip and I saw shearwater, if someone had told me compare shearwaters to any bird you've seen, I would have said
Mhm.
ringbill gulls, and they're way tinier than ringbill gulls, because like in my mind I thought shearwater were like these big birds. It just, I don't know why, because they're pelagic. That's what I was thinking of, like maybe albatross or something like that. It was so funny.
I have it in my mind that all those pelagic birds are big. I don't know why.
Mhm.
I just haven't seen them. I don't know.
The shearwater started flying, and I was like, "What is that tiny thing?" And the person goes like, "Oh, that's a shearwater," and I was like, "Oh, I'm surprised."
I told myself
Yeah.
that when I turn 50, that's when I'm going to dedicate myself to learning all those birds. So
Yeah.
I have 4 months. Yeah, 4 months.
You have good enough time, yeah. And again, going back to the stuff is like, if you want to get most of the birds that are in really low frequency in the area, you have to live there for a few years. Like there was a guy who had been doing those pelagic strip for 20, 30 years or something, and he told me that he's only seen the tropical kingbird once. So like, and I can't expect to go on one pelagic trip and get that. Or maybe I will. Like people might get it, just get lucky with it. But people can go years without seeing something like that, like summer tanizer, or yellow-billed cuckoo. So
That's it. You go to a place for the first time and you get a bunch of lifers, and then you have to really start working to add more.
exactly.
Yep. That's the struggle of the county birder. Just hoping
Yep.
something vagrant will show up.
Yeah. So but for the Cass County, there's 325 species so far on eBird, and I'm only at 275, and I've been like pounding the county for the last 7, 8 years, and it's still hard to get to that point. It's been really hard since 250 to even get just one county lifer. So yeah, maybe like 100 is easy. Like 100, you can pick it up in a month or something,
Exactly.
and then if you work a little hard, maybe 150, and then after 200, it's
Yep.
going to be a struggle.
Exactly. Hit 200 here in Allegheny County, and it has slowed down. And it's something
So,
new pops up, and you just like dropping everything.
yep. Yeah, that's what you need to do. Yep. So I didn't have cattle egret for the county until yesterday or 2 days ago, and then Keith found one in out western part of the county, and it's really hard to get them here. Apparently, they were really abundant 20 years ago, but nowadays they're not here. So I didn't have one. I was working, and then I saw the post, and it was like 4:30. I was like, call my wife. We're like, we need to leave. Like, we need to go find the cattle egret. And I came home, picked her up, and we went there and found those. So you have to do that to get more birds in the
really,
county.
really have to hustle. So you
Yep.
recently got married,
Hmm.
and your wife is also a birder,
Yes.
also a bird researcher.
Yes.
That's nice.
It worked
those overlapping interests. So are you
Yeah.
tell me about your birding life with your wife. Are you daily birders together?
We are. So to keep track of what birds we've seen together, we created a combined account, and I've been like missing out on sharing it with our combined account, but she usually does it. So we need to go back and check how many birds we've seen together. But I think we're close to 400 now, between
Okay.
Nepal and
I was
US.
going to say, and you, as I understand it, you were married in Nepal and then you moved here. So had she birded in the U.S. before?
No, that it was her first time, and that's why I was like, "You're going to be here in spring, and we get really good number of birds." So I'm like, "I can promise you 200 birds in the first month," and I think I got her 193 because like for most of the parts we didn't bird much because we were super busy with stuff. But I think she has 197 birds in the or 198 birds in the U.S. right now, and then
Wow.
178 lifers.
Every bird is a lifer almost.
Yeah, except for travelers or
Mm-hmm.
pintails or some of
Mm-hmm.
those that we have back house sparrows.
It's great. A birding life together. Well, I'm happy for you guys. All right. I'm sorry to do this to you. Question number 10.
I remember this.
I call it the dreaded question. Anuj Ghimire, what is your favorite bird?
So we lost the previous recording, but I don't even know what I said that time. I don't even remember it. But again, this is a really hard question. Like, and I get these questions a lot, but I don't know. Like, I think I like all birds equally, but I think I like owls more than other birds, and I can tell like a whole group. So like, I love owls because they're just really good to look at, and I love
Mm-hmm.
shorebirds. Like for some reason, I just love shorebirds. I would love to work on shorebirds, band them, put a tag on them, and see what they do because they're really fascinating. But if I have to say one bird, that is going to be a hard thing to say. But I will say it for US though. Like maybe just for US, I would say the great gray owl. I really love that bird because the first time I saw it, I was like, "This thing is amazing."
They are amazing. I've never seen one. It is. I once created a list of 5 birds that I need to see, absolutely need to see before I die. And I think great gray owl was the number one bird.
The bog in the winter, you should come to the
Saxon
Saxon
Bog
bog.
is where I need to go. I know it.
Yeah, or if it was this past winter, Fargo. We
Oh,
had one in Fargo.
lucky you.
Yep. Yeah.
Don't have to go too
That
far.
was a really cool bird.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are. A mythical great gray owl. That's a great choice. I love it. And owl family, of course, is a great choice. Shorebirds is a. Yeah, I do too. They're so challenging.
I think that's something that makes it fun as well. Like when we went to look out for that cattle egret the other day, there were a bunch of shorebirds, and I was like, I don't want to do this. So I put my scope on it, and I look at them, and I see like long tail kind of like birds, but they have streaking on the side. So I'm like, oh, this might be white drum sandpipers, and they were in good numbers. And we waited until they flew, and they were white drums. So I was like, thank God it was white drum because I would not know what it was if it
That's
wasn't
how I
white
found
drum.
my
So
first one too. Waiting.
yeah,
Just please fly.
yeah,
Reveal that white rump.
yeah.
Okay, that wraps up our 10 birding questions, I think. My guest has been Anuj Ghimire, who is a fantastic birder and researcher at North Dakota State University. And I'll be excited to follow his career and keep up with his birding adventures both here and overseas, especially in his home country of Nepal. Really going to look forward to watching that life list climb higher toward that 5,000 goal. That's a very ambitious goal that I'm very excited for. I will be keeping track. Anuj, it's been a real honor having you here on 10 Birding Questions. Thank you for joining me twice.
Yeah. It was fun the whole
and-
time.
I could talk to you for hours and hours about this stuff. It's so much fun. But I do wish you best of luck in your research and your birding adventures. And again, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me. It was really fun talking to you.
10 Birding Questions is a Birding with Bilbo production, hosted and produced by Nate Bowler. Alexandra Hidalgo is our associate producer. Original theme music by Alejandro Zavala. Thanks for joining us today. If you wish to support our work at Birding with Bilbo, consider becoming a subscriber of my Substack, bilbobaggins.substack.com. That's Bilbo with 2 L's. Of course, the best way to support me is to become a paid subscriber, which comes with bonus written, video, photographic, and podcast content like this.
Or like I could not see properly, and I was like, I don't know if it's fog or something, but I see blurry stuff.
As always, 5% of earnings are donated to the American Birding Association. That's all for this month. Until next time, thanks for listening. And don't forget to bird your ass off.